I'm Luke Story. For the past 22 years, I've been relentlessly committed to my deepest passion, designing the ultimate lifestyle based on the most powerful principles of spirituality, health, psychology, and personal development. The Lifestylist Podcast is a show dedicated to sharing my discoveries and the experts behind them with you. Big ups to our sponsor, Organifi. You guys hear me talk about them all the time. You know why? Because they're awesome. I take 2 of their products almost every single day. That's the Organifi green juice. Usually take that in the morning. It's got a little matcha, all kinds of green superfoods. Super delicious, alkalizing, energizing, easy to travel with. You don't waste money on like having juices go bad in your car and like trying to travel with a glass bottle and they don't let you take it through the TSA. You know, all the issues of being a healthy person and traveling. Eliminated with the green juice. So good. I also like the Organifi Gold. This is what I use mostly in the evening and at night to just relax. It's an anti-inflammatory drink that tastes delicious. It's got tons of turmeric and lemon balm and lion's mane and all kinds of rad herbs and mushrooms in there. And they've also got a biotic balance probiotic that's really fantastic. They have a plant-based protein. You got all kinds of good stuff over there. They have a red juice that's made with all the antioxidant-rich fruits and things like that many of us are missing from our diet. So get over to Organifi.com/Luke and peep it out for yourself. That's Organifi with an I. If you go to Organifi.com/Luke and use the code Lifestylist at checkout, you will save 20%. It's a really great discount. So my top 2, again, would be the green juice and the gold, but dig around the site and experiment, try some different stuff out. Every once in a while, I'll make myself like a big red juice first thing in the morning and make up for all of the pigment-rich fruits that I am not eating. All right. Thanks so much for checking out Organifi.com/Luke. Doing a podcast that focuses much of the time on health, it of course makes sense that I get a lot of questions from people about how to improve their mental performance and function. So everybody wants to know about the new smart drug and the new nootropic and the new fancy thing. And there are some things on the market that work, but there's one thing that's quite old, my friends, that works very well, and that's called lion's mane mushrooms. And my friends over at foursigmatic.com have created not only one of the most potent and legit lion's mane mushroom products, but also one that tastes really good and is really easy to use. Now, they've also snuck a couple other things in there to help its effectiveness, such as organic peppermint, rose hips, rhodiola root, and even a hint of stevia. Now, this one is going to knock your socks off. So if you want brain and nervous system support, if you want an all-natural cognitive enhancer, this stuff's been scientifically proven to boost your memory and concentration. So you can use this when you're doing things like recording a podcast intro or promo, such as I'm doing now, studying, reading, writing, or just chilling out. You don't actually have to be using your brain a lot to take lion's mane. It just makes you feel good. It's amazing stuff. So if you want to check this out, what you want to do is this. Get over to foursigmatic.com/Luke Story. That's foursigmatic.com/Luke Story. If you use the code over there in your cart, known as Luke Story, you're going to save 15% off your lion's mane elixir. So that's foursigmatic.com/Luke Story. Save 15% with the code Luke Story. And here we are, popping off with another episode of the Lifestylist Podcast. Today's your lucky day. You know why? Because today's show is all about you. At least it's going to start that way. I want to thank you for helping me get to 3 million downloads. Now, I'm not there yet at the time of this recording. Let's just make that clear. I just logged into my hosting site and saw that this show, our show, is now at 2,997,064 downloads. So we're almost to 3 million. And right now it's about 10 p.m. Pacific time as I record this intro. I'm guessing by the time I wake up tomorrow morning, we're going to hit 3 million. And that was my goal for 2019. And you, my friend, helped me get there. So if you're a longtime listener, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for sharing this with friends and family. If this is the first time you're hearing this show, I'm just going to go ahead and give you a huge ask right now. Now, first, I want you to listen to the episode. If you don't like it, we'll part as friends. If you enjoy it, here's what I want you to do. text or email it to like 2 or 3 friends right when you're done. It literally will take you 3 seconds. And that's the best way to grow a podcast. And the reason I want to grow this podcast is because I want to get more messages from people saying, oh my God, you changed my life. This is such good information, because that's what helps me wake up another day and do it again. So thank you so much again. Today's guest was actually recorded in Spain on the beautiful island of Majorca at Rama Fest. His name is Rich Lister. Now, he's not from Spain. He's from the UK, as you're going to find with his charming accent shortly. He's a trained nurse. He's also the founder of Medicine for Modern Times. And most importantly, he's the creator of Radical Rest, a program built on top of the Ayurvedic meditation technique known as Yoga Nidra. And that's what we talk a lot about in this episode. It's pretty fascinating stuff. I had not really heard of this whole vibe, but I was interested in Rich, heard him talk, cool guy. I liked what he had to say. And I thought, we got to go deeper into his knowledge base and check out what he's doing. So here's what we talk about specifically. Rich's 15 years of experience in the ER and how it nearly broke him, how ancient yoga and meditation practices first made their way to the West and then started finding popularity again in the mid-90s, why healing your subconscious mind is the root of all healthy living, the ins and outs of Radical Rest, a deep meditation practice that helps you release negative emotions and thought patterns, calm your nervous system, and develop the aptitude necessary to meet all of life's challenges, bringing science to the esoteric, the relationship between the vagus nerve and the female orgasm. I know you're going to listen through to the end just to hear that, whether you're a female or male. We all need to know that. What we should know about HRV and the unconscious mind, and the subjectivity of trauma and why that matters. So this episode really covers a lot of stuff. You know, it's got the Yoga Nidra, it's got the Eastern mysticism, but also a lot of Western psychology and really dealing with the trauma. So if you were a fan of my Mastin Kipp episode, which was very much focused on trauma and how that affects us in our adult lives, you're definitely going to dig this one. I know that was one of my popular episodes, and everyone's going, dude, give me more trauma. So there you go. And you know what? Honestly, I'm 49. I'm going to be, I'm 48. I'm going to be 49 in October here, right after this comes out. And it's actually really annoying. Today I was thinking about it. I thought, wow, God, it's like the first 10 years of your life, you know, many of us, myself included, just get wrecked, right? I mean, your physical health, you're eating Cheetos and, you know, MSG and aspartame and GMOs, and you get vaccinated out the ass, and it's just a freak show, right? So your body just gets devastated as a kid, at least, you know, depending on who raises you and where, and of course, during what era. And then, you know, most of us suffer abandonment, trauma, abuse, etc. And then if you're lucky, such as I and so many people that listen to this show, I'd venture to say everyone that continues to listen to this show is on the journey of undoing all that shit that happens to you as a kid. So I'm really fascinated by this and also annoyed by it, because it's like, God, when is the work done? And perhaps the work is never done. We just keep on learning. But Rich has some really great tools and resources and principles for you guys to help you overcome some of the crap that messed you up in life. And not the least of which being his Radical Rest program, which is super, super cool. Anyway, before we jump into Rich Lister here, I'd like to invite you to come join me September 14th and 15th in London, where I'll be the MC and a speaker and recording tons of podcasts with people like Dave Asprey and John Gray and a lot of other huge leaders in the health industry. Super excited about that. And then lastly, if you want to support the show even more so than just, you know, sharing it with some friends, you can always go get all of your health products and biohacking gadgets and whatnot at lukestory.com/store. It's a powerful way to support the show, the movement, support your health, and support really who I think are the greatest brands in the industry. Everything on my site is the best in show. It's just top-notch stuff that I use myself or have used at some point and I truly believe in. So if you're into some supplements, some biohacking gear and all that, again, you can go to lukestory.com/store. Now, I'd love for you to join me for some Radical Rest tips with our guest, Rich Lister. Rich Lister, welcome to the show, dude. Great to see you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm stoked. So, you listeners, we're over in, is it in or on, if it's an island? I guess in and on Majorca, Spain.
Yeah.
We're here at Rama Fest, and Rich is one of the fellow presenters, and he's onto some really cool stuff. So I wanted to sit down with him and, kind of get inside your world and figure out where you came from, where you are, and where you're going. So give me a little bit of your backstory, which I think is fascinating, and how you ended up working within the medical system as a nurse and are now exploring all of these different yogic practices and alternative medicine and what have you.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm a nurse by trade. I've been in the ER for 15 years, and which is a really exciting place to be a nurse because you do all kinds of cool, fun stuff. But the trauma that I saw not just from the patients that I was seeing who have been in these hideous experiences, but on the staff, that just gets compounded and compounded and compounded day after day. I saw this stress building up that people didn't understand that they were experiencing. And after 15 years of that, I had a breakdown, which is a very common origin story from what I'm seeing for a lot of people. But I broke because I couldn't cope with doing the job I wanted to do in the environment that I was having to do it in, because there was no scope for being able to care with the volume of patients we had coming through, and I couldn't cope with that. And yeah, I broke, which as a guy in a emergency field isn't something that was terribly accepted within the environment that I was in, because we get on and do the job. The patient comes first. I'm a nurse. Everything comes after the patient's well-being. So I broke.
When you say break, what does that look like for you?
So for me, I couldn't literally face going onto the unit, into the trauma center. I would shake when I walked through these sliding doors. My breathing would go up, my heart rate would go up, and I wouldn't be able to focus, which is quite an important thing if I'm sticking vials of morphine into people with broken hips and things like that. And so I took myself away from it.
Did you go on leave?
No, I literally mic drop out.
Oh,
left,
wow.
And went and...
In the States, we call that a peace out.
Yeah.
A hard peace out.
Yeah, it was hard because being the stubborn human being that I am, I didn't have anything in place to move on afterwards. And I did some training. I qualified as a yoga teacher. I'm 6'7" and 380 pounds. So that was quite an experience.
You're 6'7"?
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude. Because when we met, I didn't even notice that. Maybe it's because your overall stature is relatively...
Yeah, there's a lot on me.
Yeah, you're an imposing character, but usually if I run into someone taller than me, I really notice it because I'm not that used to looking up at 6'2".
Yeah.
So what was it like going to your first yoga class?
That was an experience.
Being this behemoth man.
Yeah, there was a lot of very bendy, very blonde ladies, which was interesting. I was very lucky because we found a very spiritual form of hatha yoga. And I think my teacher trained with Yogi Bhajan, was being in Rama in Majorca. It's a very Kundalini area. And listening to a lot of the teachings he gave us as we worked and did our practice, a lot of his words echo the words that I'm hearing from Guru Jagat, etc. here, which is awesome. And so I trained in that. I went and did Ayurvedic training, which was fun because looking at the model that we have our Vata, which spins really high and fast. And if you don't sort out problems with Vata, this air and ether, it gets denser and denser and denser. And then becomes Kapha problems, which is this earth and water, which is like stodgy, big, heavy problems in our bodies. And seeing this model applying to things like this trauma that I'd experienced within the ER and the constant stress that I saw there, that people weren't dealing with this. And then we're having nurses and doctors having heartburn, and then that progresses to peptic ulcers, that progresses down then into lumps and bumps throughout the body that then ultimately progress to things like clots in the heart attacks, strokes, cancers and things like that, because we don't process out any of this negative emotion. And this was my perception of this. From that, Ayurvedic yogic stuff, I learned Nidra. Nidra is yogic sleep, which I absolutely loved. Yoga, if you remember from your classes, at the end where you lie down and just breathe deep in Savasana.
That's my favorite pose.
Mine
especially in Kundalini, like today, doing it out in the plaza. It's super hot. It's like, when's the gong lie out?
Yeah, it's like 100 degrees out there.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so Yoga Nidra is Savasana, Big Brother on steroids. It's big stuff that goes right into your unconscious mind and helps you process all the stuff you don't consciously know how to do, which I love because my conscious mind gets in the way of everything. It starts overthinking, it starts processing left, processing right, and it's getting in the way of these things. And I saw this with Nidra, that it switched off my unconscious mind. It lets it go and count stars while your unconscious mind gets to do the stuff it's designed to do. And from there, my wife and I moved to Malta, which was an experience. My wife is a ardent feminist and author. And we moved to Malta, a tiny little island off Malta, which is about 3 square miles. And it's like going back in time to early 80s. And the misogyny was special. And living with a feminist, we didn't last very long there because no one would speak to her because she was a witch, because she had tattoos. They'd only speak to me. So we moved back and we ended up in Glastonbury. And I thought, I'll go and be a nurse again. And that lasted about 18 months. And now here I am in Ilha Mallorca talking to you. So yeah, it's a fun journey of self-discovery and seeing how I work.
I think it's interesting that with so many of us that are now committed to and devoted to improving our lives and our human experience and passing that along to other people that suffer, inherent in that 99.9% of the time is an origin story of suffering.
Yes.
And of abject pain or failure in some area of life or all. And out of that is that rebirth and that resurrection.
That's truth. Yeah, I see that in so many people that I respect, like yourself. And I see it in so many people who I come into contact with in my private business as well as my nursing job, because people are broken and you only break when you've had too much. And we don't have the resources in our society to look after that. And it takes, there's a sort of ego buff, it takes quite a strong person to pull themselves from that pain point, from that pit of self-despair into a functioning human being that goes, actually, learn from my mistakes, people, and push it forward so you don't have to have the same pain. You can learn from me so you can evolve beyond my pain, my experience. And I find that when I'm teaching student nurses, if they can learn from my mistakes clinically, then they're better nurses. They don't have to make the mistakes, which is awesome because it makes a better experience for my patients as well.
I think that's also a healthy distinction between the archetypal guru, sort of ascended master and student relationship versus someone like you, or hopefully myself could be included in that as someone who's a guide, right? And can say, well, I might be 20 feet ahead of you on the path in certain cases, and I know where the cliffs are and the roadblocks and the bogs and the quicksand, right? But I'm still falling off the cliff here and there too.
Yeah, we're human.
Yeah.
And we're the same on the inside, no matter what else, we're exactly the same. And I'm just a few steps along, just don't step on that thing, it hurts.
Yeah.
And if I can pass that on and stop someone having the same pain, I think that's a good day.
It is a good day. It's a good life too. I think it's a good purpose. For me, I feel, you go through your ups and downs, but generally speaking, quite fulfilled having assumed that role of explorer and at times hitting the barbed wire and figuring out, oops, that didn't work.
Yeah.
That was a faulty teaching or practice that was invalid or whatever the case may be. And
I
then,
learned, so therefore
you then you can pass it along. Don't waste your money, don't waste your time. Like skip that. Here's what really works.
Yeah.
Take me a little bit further into the Yoga Nidra. I've heard that term as a practitioner of various sects of yoga over the years, and I've heard that, but I don't really know what it is. Do you know about the origins, or how deeply have you gone into it?
My teacher for Yoga Nidra was really good at taking us deep. Her name was Uma Dinsmore Tully, and she taught us in a cave in the middle of Gloucestershire in the UK. So yeah, it was a special experience, and literally hollowed out the mountainside right in the middle of this cave with brightly painted yantras on the walls. And Yoga Nidra started like back in the day, 5,000 years ago, with deep meditative practice. And Nidra means sleep, so it's the yoga of sleep.
Oh, cool.
And it evolved slowly, as everything does, until mid-1950s, where it came over, to the States, where it met the self-improvement movement and the hypnosis movement in California. But of course. And so these two models of trance, of meditation, of hypnosis, started to merge together. And because they're the same stuff coming from very different paradigms, one Far Eastern, one very Western, and they melded together, and the swamis that brought this stuff over to California then took the hypnotic and hypnotherapy stuff back into darkest India, where it then evolved again, got mixed up and played with, and had lots of Sanskrit applied to it and things like that, and then brought back again into the late 90s, back into California, where it evolved into the Yoga Nidra that we see today. And there's half a dozen different schools of Yoga Nidra in our field right now. I learned one called Wild Yoga Nidra, and that's at UMA in Gloucestershire in the UK. And there's lots of different other institutes all over, and they're all equally powerful because they work on your unconscious mind. And I'm a firm believer that your unconscious mind is the root to all healthy living on this human plane that we're in, because our unconscious mind's there programmed at birth to keep us healthy, to keep us safe, and that's its prime directive, is keep us safe. And if we can go into our unconscious mind and make sure all the stuff's out of the way of that prime directive of keeping us safe, then we are happy, healthy, holy, balanced human beings. So Yoga Nidra is a really powerful mix of this really ancient yogic meditation practice married with some really cutting-edge hypnotherapeutic science and psychotherapy and stuff like that, all mashed together through the medium of Yoga Nidra into a practice that is, I find with a lot of my yogis and a lot of my clients, is really transformative, because it happens on a level where your brain's off counting stars and your unconscious mind can do the work it's there to do. And I think that's really powerful. So it's a way that, you can do the work without actually doing it, and you wake up feeling like you've slept for 6 hours after half an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff.
I think, just when I feel as though I've arrived at some answer, the aha moment, I have so many of those conducting these interviews, and then even at times listening back to them and catching nuances that I didn't pick up on during the recordings because I'm focused on the process of recording. But the thing that I feel very much... what's the word I'm looking for? The thing I'm very sure of at this moment is that most of what's troubling us are programs running in the subconscious.
Completely.
And then,
100%
right?
Yeah.
And that all of the, the early trauma that many of us experience then gets locked in. And then all of these modalities and practices and all of the, even some of the more clinical or techie biohacks are really just means by which to subdue the conscious mind and facilitate the healing that needs to take place on the subconscious level.
Yes, definitely.
So some of the things that I've tried, for example, on that realm would be like neurofeedback and float tanks and even plant medicines to a degree, though I have limited experience there. But what I do have seem to operate in much the same way, where you're sort of whisked out of the way and your personality is kind of pushed to the side. And then there's...
And someone goes in with a big spoon.
Yeah, there's openings and things there, breath work, the Kundalini yoga, of course. Run me through the process of a Yoga Nidra class or session. What's this radical rest that you speak of? I noticed you had posted something about that.
I like words, but radical rest... is my version of Yoga Nidra, using lots of different inputs to make it into what I want it to do. So I come from a very clinical, medical mentality. 15 years experience will do that for you. And I want it to do a job, and not just be somewhere where you have a lie down and feel really good afterwards. I want you to lie down, feel really good afterwards, and then know that actually I'm better now. And so Yoga Nidra is, so that bit at the end of the yoga that I mentioned where you lie down in your savasana and just chill out. But Nidra takes you a bit deeper. So I would like you, if you get a chance to do it, is make sure you're really comfortable with maybe pillows under your knees, especially if you've got lower back pain. Blanket over you to keep you warm, because as you get into these theta state of brainwave patterns, your temperature drops, because that's how it's programmed to. Your body's programmed to do that. So it heals that way. Cutting out external stimulators, maybe with an eye pillow or a blindfold, if that's something that you feel safe with. So you're in this like nest almost of like comfort, being held there with pillows under your arms and bolsters under your knees and blanket over you. You're tucked in like a little baby in a burrito. And then I start with some hypnotic suggestion and take you down and around your body to get you into your body, which is really powerful, especially with people with trauma, with dissociative conditions, that you actually bring yourself back into your body to experience your body, how your body feels. And then we get taken to a very deep hypnotic trance. I don't do any post-hypnotic suggestion because I think that has to be tailored to each individual person, especially if you're doing it in class setting.
Sure.
And then you bring you out, and it takes about 25 minutes, half an hour tops, mainly because I get bored after about that. And it feels like you've had about 3 or 4 hours sleep minimum. And I've had people finishing work on a Friday night doing it and then being able to go out all night like they've just slept all day. And it's really powerful stuff because it helps your body reboot. It's like a power nap on steroids. It's really good.
And how much of it is dependent on the teacher or practitioner, and how deep could one go with the practice on their own? Like in a practice like Kundalini Yoga, I mean, if you have a teacher training book or you go online, you can learn some Kriya and, kind of do your thing at home if you have that level of dedication and discipline. Is this something that one could learn, or do you need the other person to implement the hypnotic element?
I personally feel that because it's a really safe practice and your unconscious mind is designed to keep your brain safe, keep your body safe, keep you safe, I think having it done on podcasts or MP3s or whatever is a really effective use of Yoga Nidra to help you calm down at work or at home. I've done it with corporate clients, literally under desks in offices, because they're just burned out at lunchtime. And they do a quick 15-minute Nidra and they're bouncing again, straight away, ready to go. But you doing it on your iPhone or your iPod or whatever, just put your headphones in, make a nest, climb onto the sofa, whatever. Definitely doable, but you do need someone else to read or to speak the words to you.
Got it.
Because you can't do it yourself. Probably some of the aspects you can probably do yourself. I haven't tried. That'd be fun.
So are there apps or podcasts that have the guided...
Well, Guru Jagat has, who runs Rama, has not so subtly hit me over the head with it this morning. So I need to, there will be an app as soon as I work out how to make an app.
Great.
And my podcast is Medicine for Modern Times, and there are Nidras on that.
Oh, there are. So you'll do episodes where you run people through it, and they can put on headphones.
You put on your headphones, lie down, and I like making them prescriptions, medicalized. So I'd like having Nidra for anxiety or more confidence or whatever condition that someone says, Rich, do this for me. I'll do it because I really enjoy doing it. It's a process that I love. And I use it in class, or I use it with the clients, and then it's ready to roll for other people as well, because medicine shouldn't just be, in my opinion, for one person. It needs to be ready to roll for the collective. And if it doesn't work for you, great, move on. But if it works for you, grab it with both hands and use it. So Nidra, I think, is something that should be done with someone else reading it to you or speaking it to you, but you can do it via podcast, you can do it via MP3 or whatever it is your medium of choice is, or do it in class. And as we know from the yogic experience, if you're in class with 30 other people, all in the same theta state of your brainwave pattern, so in this healing state of your brainwave, then the effects are magnified because you're all in the same space. That energy, that resonance is just exactly where it needs to be to help the whole group go.
I find that to be true too. Yeah. Like in a group meditation, I do Vedic meditation, and luckily a few of my buddies also been trained and practice it. And so oftentimes when we're together, it'll be 5 or 6 and someone will say, oh man, let's medi, And then we drop in together, and it's always deeper, even just with 3 or 4 people, let alone like a large group of people where there's that, the word, resonance, I guess would be the case, right? Where you all sort of sync up energetically.
We're social beings. We've got a bit of our brain designed just to read social cues. And if, for instance, someone who comes in their power, like yourself, you come in, let's meditate, and you're powerful, everyone else around you instantly will sync up to your brainwave patterns, for want of a better word. So he's safe, he's happy, brilliant. So we can relax now as well.
Oh, interesting.
And so that's part of our social response, and it's buried deep in our brains that we respond that way. So if someone in authority is anxious, everyone gets anxious. If someone in authority is calm, then everyone's calm. And it's a really powerful tool to use, especially when teaching Nidra. Because if I'm chilled out and calm, even when there's an ambulance driving past or doing something stupid, or drunk people are banging on the windows at 9 o'clock on a Saturday night, people stay in that trance state even though that stuff's happening. And as you say, when you're doing your meditation with your friends, because you're all of the same, you're strong. You as a human being, or a strong human being, are grounded in yourself. You portray that confidence, and it brings everyone back into that confidence with themselves, and everyone starts resonating on the same frequency.
That's interesting. That explains one element of the teacher or the guru and the Shakti experience. I've had experiences where I go into class or darshan, whatever the case may be, with a great teacher, and I could be very perturbed walking in there by whatever, and sit in that energy field, and it seems to be radiating from the person there, if they happen to be of higher consciousness, or at least in that moment, radiating that. And that's that kind of magic where you hear stories of spontaneous enlightenment or deliverance from some sort of difficulty, just being in the presence of a master who is so, radiating that kind of transformative energy.
Definitely.
But to me, it's always been some sort of woo-woo magic. I know it's real in some cases, and then in some cases it's bullshit, and the person is just wearing a white robe with a bunch of beads.
If it works, don't knock it.
But I mean, I've been around some counterfeit gurus in India and things like that, and I go, I'm not getting that feeling. Someone's wanting money, or something like that. But I've never thought about just the, the way you framed it psychologically, how humans are wired to kind of follow the leader, the 100th monkey kind of thing, right? Where we all fall into resonance based on whoever happens to be kind of the alpha in that situation.
Yeah. And that's what I like about what I do, is I bring science into the esoteric, because it's all the same stuff. Like with Tylenol, I know exactly how it works on the body. It doesn't stop it being magic, because it takes the pain away. And the use of these techniques, if you see it with political movements, that if someone presents themselves as the safe person that meets your needs, then people will follow the safe person, because my needs are being met to keep me safe, so I want to follow you. And you see it politically, especially in UK at the moment. We've got all kinds of fun and games with people who are playing to people's unconscious desire to be safe, and that desire leads people to make decisions in ways that aren't necessarily in their best interest, but they're feeling safe while doing it. So therefore, they've been manipulated into feeling safe. And this is that bit of the brain that goes, oh, I'm safe, I'm being looked after, we're part of a team, we're part of a pack, we're good. But then you have people who are using that nefariously, but then you also have people who are taking massively huge steps of power and vulnerability in their message with self-improvement, with self-responsibility. And it's coming thick and fast all over the place now, because you've got this massive network of humans on this planet with the internet. And this message of self-improvement, self-responsibility is coming across, where actually I don't have to be completely reliant on someone standing behind a podium to feel safe. I can feel safe in myself. And therefore, I can be a much more autonomous, powerful human being within that. And then that moves us from this guru teacher place to a place of actually, I'm strong enough to look after myself. And then we're looking at the information and things like that. We're coming out the trauma studies post Iraq and Afghanistan wars, and how the soldiers there are being treated for trauma. They're seeing how these being safe in your body makes much more autonomous, powerful human beings, and more resilient to traumatic experiences, and more resilient to stress, more resilient to anxiety, because you're safe in your body. And your unconscious mind knows you're safe. And this is what Nidra, I think, can really help people doing. Not starting off looking at me, oh yeah, Rich is safe, he's big, he's cuddly, he'll keep me safe. But then by the end of the session, actually, I'm stronger in myself. I can trust my body to look after me. I can trust my experience to look after me, and make sure that I'm completely safe within this, so I can do the healing, I can do the growth, I can do the work I need to do in this world.
That's a cool perspective. It reminds me of one of the most attractive things about Yogi Bhajan's teachings, and that was his infamous quote that he didn't come to the States to gain students, he came to make teachers.
Yeah.
Right? Is that element teachers of personal empowerment rather than the dependency on said teacher beyond just showing you the way so that you can do it yourself.
Yeah.
And I agree. We live in an interesting time because we have such a vast availability of to content and information that's transformative. And we have never been in this place before where we have such a vast amount of valid information.
And it's valid for
that we
what
can
valid
apply.
for you may not be valid for me. I mean, that's the best bit about where we are, because Kundalini yoga may be the best thing ever for me, but may not be yours.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop it being awesome because it works for me. But then your Vedic meditation is the best thing ever for you, but it may not work for me. So it's these knowing that which medicine, which tool you can use to heal you.
Right.
Saying to people, try it. If it works, brilliant. If not, there's one over there you can use.
Yeah.
There's one over there. There's one over there. Or there's ayahuasca. Or there's modern medicine surgery. Or whatever it is you need to do to get yourself to where you need to be in the universe.
Yeah. And sometimes it's what you need. It changes from time to time too.
It evolves as you evolve.
Yeah, there's practices that I swore by for years, and then after a while, I'm just like, I think I'm done with that phase. It doesn't. I've gained all I could from it, kind of, juiced it to a dry pulp, and now it's time for something else because I'm in a different place.
Definitely, because you've healed that bit of that wound within you, or whatever it is that needed to, correcting or strengthening, and now you can look on to the next practice. And again, whichever way that works for you.
We'll be right back at you after this brief but important announcement. There's one question I get over and over again from listeners, and that is, Luke, if you could recommend one product or lifestyle practice to really improve your health without breaking the bank, what would it be? And I have to say, blocking blue light at night has got to be my number one hack. I think a lot of our problems in health really come down to being completely domesticated, cut off from natural light, sun, different temperatures, the earth, right? So if we want to live indoors and turn on the lights at night and go out into the world where there's blue light, aka just really bright, white, unnatural light after dark, it's real easy to fix that. All you have to do is get some Blue Blocks glasses. Studies have clearly shown that blue and green light at night is a super potent suppressor of melatonin. But the guys over at Blue Blocks have the Sleep Plus lenses that are the most effective blue and green light blockers for after dark use, proven to block 100% of the light in this range, which is super important. So these guys do prescription glasses, reading glasses, non-prescription glasses at a tremendous value. If you want to check it out, go over to blueblocks.com. That's BLUBLOX, blueblocks.com. If you want to get hooked up with a 15% discount, you can use the code LifeStylist. So the code is LifeStylist. The website is blueblocks.com. They have a variety of different styles. And as I said, this is one of my top recommendations, something you can do to really impact your health without spending a ton of money. Just get in the habit of making it dark at night when it's supposed to be dark. And thankfully, companies like these guys are making glasses that don't look ridiculous like they used to when I started out trying to block that light at night. So blueblocks.com, the code is LifeStylist. And now back to the interview. In terms of the Yoga Nidra, going back to that, so when you're brought through listening to the teacher on a device or in a class, and it's someone who's trained and understands the kind of hypnotic, theta-inducing words to use or cadence or whatever it is, and you're brought into that place where your conscious mind can let go of control and the apparatus of keeping you safe and just allow the subconscious mind to wander or
do its work,
count stars, as you said, and do its work. How does the healing take place? Where does the trauma or the anxiety, the depression, the PTSD, where's that going? And is it the higher self or consciousness or God that knows what needs to get worked out?
I think it depends on your perspective of the universe. You can put your healing, your journey completely in the hands of God, of the universe, of whatever you want to call it, and it does the work when you're in Nidra, when you're in this unconscious state. I believe that your body has this blueprint of absolute optimal health locked deep within itself that's behind a filing cabinet with a box of stuff on top of it hidden. And we need to, when we go into our unconscious mind in Nidra, then we can dig that out and look at it and then compare it to the model that we're using right now. And go, actually, Rich, you're 50 pounds overweight and your shoulder hurts and your knees hurt. So let's do some stuff about this. And when your unconscious mind is given, if not free rein, then taken off the leash slightly so it can actually do the work, then it removes these limiting beliefs, these hyper-emotive states that we have lurking around in our memories and our feelings that stop us doing things. So maybe what caused me to procrastinate and not hit the gym when I should have been could be removed in Yoga Nidra, or be removed by getting rid of that belief that I couldn't do X, Y, and Z. Or the decisions that I'd made in the past when I used to be a defensive lineman and I got cut all the time because I'm bigger than everyone and my knees hurt because of that. Or therefore I can't run because my knees hurt. But that's 20-year-old belief, and moving all that stuff around with your unconscious mind so it can say, actually, Rich, you just need to run. And so this unconscious mind has this blueprint to bring you back to optimal health, but it does so by moving the barriers out of the way of your conscious mind. I think am I making sense with that? So the unconscious mind just is shifting boulders off the road. Your conscious mind likes a straight freeway. And as we evolve in our lives, we put boulders down there, landslides happen, there's subsidence, the road gets bumpy, there's traffic jams, there's all kinds of diversions going on. And our unconscious mind has the ability to go in and just bulldoze that stuff out of the way, leaving a pristine highway that you can just put the music on and go with. And I think we're coded on a genetic level to be able to heal ourselves in a way that is profound, but we just don't know how to turn it on yet with modern medical science. But these techniques that are coming from ancient cultures like the yogis of India and Egyptians and all this stuff that's coming from everywhere, the Amazon basin with all the ethogens that they're using there and things like that, that they're starting to be refined now into tools that can be used to help us be the best human beings we can. Because we're at the pinnacle of technology right now. We've got stuff that would make Star Trek blush that's just been carried around in rucksacks. But we're not there yet with our human experience, with our physical bodies and our health with our bodies, because we're still pumping our shelves full of rubbish food and sugar and stuff like that. So I think our unconscious mind has the ability to make sure that we don't make the rubbish decisions that we have in our minds, in our bodies, our experience as a human, because of habit, because of conditioning, and then that will give us the health that we need in our lives. I think I've rambled there, and hopefully that made a bit of sense.
Oh no, I'm with you all the way. You answered my question exactly. It's that, so if we have these wounds or these patterns that aren't supportive of the life we mean to have, and we're dipping into this state of teachability, vulnerability, the ability to discard that which is not serving us. My question was kind of who's doing it or what's doing it, right? It's like, how do we know we're not just lying there going, oh, I just had a nap and nothing happened on the subconscious level to heal me, you know? And I think what you're saying is that within our higher intelligence or on a soul level, perhaps, that's really where the subconscious
does the work.
It's that is our higher self, and that it's the prefrontal cortex and the conscious mind.
Yeah, this bit of grey stuff that gets all the problems in.
Right. And so we're moving that to the side and kind of just letting the subconscious mind or consciousness, in a sense, do what it needs to do, which is, taking out the rubbish, as you would say.
If you need an appendectomy, you go to the surgeon who cuts your tummy open and removes your appendix. Right. You trust that surgeon because she's done it hundreds of times. But we don't trust ourselves to do that because our mind is conditioned to be safe and healthy. The safest place for our mind, our bodies to exist is the place of health. But we've been convinced through social media, through advertising, that actually I want to put Frosted Flakes in my tummy every day and I want to drink a load of Bud Light. I want to do all this, that, and the other. But actually that's conditioning. That's something being put onto us. Our bodies know exactly what it wants to have, but it's being put through like Instagram filters of the world, of behaviors that we've been conditioned to have learned to have, that makes us make less than optimal decisions for our health. And I think that's where the unconscious mind does. We can remove all them Instagram filters and see the world warts and all and go, actually, get on the fucking, pardon my French, get on the...
it's okay. We like French on the show. I actually met a mom here at the festival. And she was, and it was really sweet. She had DM'd me on Instagram a drawing that her kid had drawn of me. I was like, wow, that's so flattering. Her kid's a fan of the podcast. And then I thought, shit, wait a minute, how old's your kid? It's kind of an adult themed show, the 9 and 14. I was like, well, I hope you skipped the sex episodes because they can be pretty racy. But
you've got to learn about it from somewhere.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, hopefully we're doing it in a thoughtful way. But point being, I'm just kind of making light of you dropping an F-bomb. Not a big deal. That said, I did inform her, and I've told the listeners I do make somewhat of an effort while still remaining as authentic as I can to be mindful that, not everyone likes a potty mouth all the time. Okay, so out of this Yoga Nidra and some other examples of ways that we can heal the subconscious, we're needing to get rid of these negative patterns that lead us into a life of, dissatisfaction, if not desperation and pain at a certain point of failure. Let's talk about the origins of that, meaning different degrees and different types of trauma that we experience early in life that put that crap in there to begin with, that we then have to spend the rest of our life kind of undoing.
Definitely.
Which is seemingly the path that I'm on. It's like, the first 26 years, just, there were some good times in there, but a lot of damage was done by others to myself, both victim and perpetrator all in one in many cases. And, and then the years since, the 22 plus years since, have been kind of getting to the root of that and undoing it. It's almost like you mess up your own bed and then you spend the rest of your life kind of learning how to make it again, to simplify it. So give us your take on how trauma, creates these negative patterns in the first place that we then need to go learn how to heal.
I think trauma is one of the main causes of problems in our society, Western society, that we have to deal with now. And trauma is something that's happened to us that is less optimal for our bodies. So trauma can be your brother taking your toy when you're 3 years old. And that's the first time you've experienced loss, because where's my teddy bear? It's gone. Or it could be your mum and dad going out for their first date night since you've been born, and you don't even remember this. But you've been left at home with some weird babysitter who's watching Hollyoaks or watching sitcoms on TV downstairs, and you don't really know who she is. And then that's abandonment trauma that comes in that way. And all these tiny little micro traumas that we don't realize as adults that are things build into our unconscious mind and put roadblocks there, or put big lumps of various emotions that cause us problems. And we learn mechanisms to keep us safe within those traumas. So if you've been abandoned, you perceive you've been abandoned, because mum and dad went out to the movies, leaving with a babysitter, then you develop a skill that says, actually, the babysitter's fed me chocolate cookies, so I'm going to eat cookies every time I feel abandoned because that makes me feel better. And that amplifies over 30 years, 35 years, and then all of a sudden you're sitting here looking at yourself in front of the computer going, actually, this isn't right. Every time I feel like something's gone wrong, I stuff my face with cookies.
I do that.
But it's a learned behavior from a really young age. Right. And there's no blame in this, because everyone was doing exactly the best they could. And the only responsibility in that lies with us as adults to go, okay, in myself, I know that I have this behavior where I self-medicate with chocolate, or I self-medicate with opium, or I self-medicate with alcohol, I self-medicate with this, because I've learned these strategies throughout life to keep me safe when I get dumped. And therefore I need to go numb that feeling. Oh, the cookies aren't working, so I'm going to move on to something else. Or I didn't get the promotion, so I feel worthless. So I'm going to go and hit the gym and lift heavy for a week, and then that becomes a strategy instead. So you're lifting heavy opposed to going down the bar and drinking yourself stupid. So it's how we've constructed these mechanisms to keep us safe that we build our trauma response, and that's on a very cognitive, subconscious level up in your brains. But then we have this. Have you heard of vagal nerve theory?
Yeah. It's I hear people talk about it a lot, but I don't know much about it. So please enlighten me with whatever you've got.
This is building on the trauma model stuff. My perspective as a nurse, we have this big old superhighway of nerves going down the back of our neck called our central nervous system, and that controls a load of stuff that goes on in our bodies, be it breathing, digestion, heartbeat, and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of things we do consciously, like waving your arms about and moving your jaw and all this sort of stuff. But there's another massive nerve that comes right from this like primitive part of the brain, right behind your jaw, right at the top of your spine, and that comes right down in the front of your throat, either side, don't rub them because you'll fall over. If you feel either side of your throat, there's a little dent, and that's where your vagal nerve comes down, and that goes down through your heart, around your digestive system, right down into your pelvic bowl. And they've discovered, again, through funding that's come post-Afghanistan war, post-Iraq war, on these veterans that have come back really messed up by the experiences they've had, that this vagus nerve has a really powerful ability to make sure you stay safe. And that's what it's there. It's this really primitive piece of biological technology within our bodies. It's like pre-mammalian. It's almost squid technology.
Whoa.
And it's one job. This nerve from the really basic bit of your brain that makes you breathe and your heartbeat is to keep you safe. And that's one of my prime concerns, is to keep people safe. And by looking at how this works, like really early on, biological technology within your body, looking at actually how does this work, this vagal nerve. So we know the vagal nerve as a nurse, because I use it all the time when people come into the ER with a really fast heart rate called SVT, and your heart rate's bashing along at 250 beats a minute. And you can resolve that by rubbing the vagal nerve on your throat. And it's the same way Elvis died. He had a massive poo, squished his vagal nerve, stopped his heart beating.
What?
So it's, if you're really constipated, this is great conversation. If you're constipated and you pass that constipation and you feel really dizzy, it's because you've strained so hard and you squish that vagal nerve and your heart's gone, oh, I'm just going to relax. I'm going to chill out now.
Whoa.
Yeah. So this is a powerful nerve that controls your heartbeat. But it goes deeper. It wraps itself around your gut. And then we can look at stuff about how micronutrients and the gut flora and fauna, which I know you're quite interested in, how that affects how we think, because there's another highway. There's a road that comes up from your gut straight into your brain, affecting how your brain processes stuff. Because if you're eating less good quality food that you just bought from 7-Eleven or whatever, your gut's going to need different bacteria that's going to release different hormones and different chemicals into your body, which will then directly affect how your brain thinks straight away. So we're looking at that as well, because then we're looking at your stress response from if you're in a foxhole in Iraq and someone's shelling you, you're eating an MRE that's made by the lowest bidder, the quality of the food's not going to be good. So you're going to be more prone to have these stress responses. And then if you're looking even deeper, it goes right down into your pelvic bowl, and especially with women, it wraps around your ovaries and your womb and your uterus. And when you're having sexual trauma, it sends these feedbacks straight back up this vagal nerve into your brain, that causes that then again makes these systems be put in place within your unconscious mind. That when these nerves are stimulated, that's a problem.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and completely the other side of that spectrum, there's a study that was done in the 70s and 80s of women who'd been had their cervical spine severed in car crashes and stuff, so they were complete paraplegic, couldn't move, but they discovered that they could have orgasms, which if you've got no sensation apart from orgasm, I think that's a minor win. But they trace it back down to this vagal nerve that connects from the clitoris right up to the primitive part of your brain. So there's got to be something in there as well with how your vagal nerve is linked with the feminine orgasm in the female experience as well. So there's this really deep stuff there.
Dude,
I know.
I had no idea we were going to go here. This is very cool. So
yeah, there's all it's trauma response on the vagal nerve.
I totally forgot about the trauma. Now I'm just on female orgasm. I just completely switched gears. So I wonder then if this is passing through or going around your heart, this vagal nerve, or some people refer to it vagus nerve, and it's vagus with the U.S. Not Vegas like the crappy city in the United States. No offense to people who live there, but I do hate Las Vegas. Question: if this controls your heart, I'm assuming that this is related to heart rate variability, or HRV, right? Which is something that I track nightly when I sleep with my little Aura ring here, which can be found on lukestory.com/store. And no, it's great. I'm really, really obsessed with sleep quality, duration. I'm working on it all the time, and never feel that I've quite cracked it. But being able to track it has helped me be more enthusiastic about gamifying it. And something that I like to look at is my heart rate variability. And you want a higher number and correct me if I'm wrong, or if you can add something to this, but what I'm looking for is a higher number generally. Not that having a lower number means you're going to die or something, but if you have a higher variability in your heart rate, meaning that it changes more often and more dramatically, then that's an indication that your central nervous system is at a more restful place. And
you have a
more
better
calm.
neuroplasticity, so you can adapt to change better.
Okay.
So a lot of the studies I read are coming from people who've served in the forces, Army, Navy, Marines, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And these men and women who are in stressful situations have really good heart rate variability, and they survive, and they're the ones that do the job well.
Oh, wow.
And the ones that come home and live their life normally. But then you have the people who aren't quite as, have that neuroplasticity, the ability to adapt their neurology, their heart rate variability to the situation they're in, because that's not how they're wired. And there's no one's fault. That's literally genetic markers that say this, that some people have different susceptibility to these situations. So if you, for your heart rate variability and tracking it, your vagal nerve controls literally down the side of your throat. If you massage it, you can do one side, don't do both sides. It'll bring your heart rate down gently.
Wow, really?
Yeah, completely.
And you do this in the hospital?
You do this both sides when someone's heart rate is stupid high. Do not do this at home. You will fall over.
Okay.
And then you have to go to the ER and have your face stitched up, and that's just no fun for anyone.
Oh, I found that little hollow spot right here.
Do it yourself. Don't let anyone else do it to you unless they're a doctor.
Okay.
But
wow,
it's a powerful thing to know, because especially if you're going to bed and you think, I'm buzzing still, I need to chill out.
Mm-hmm.
A soft massage, 5 seconds there and 5 seconds on the other side works.
Wow.
And again, I don't like the term biohack, but it is a way of using your own biology to serve what your needs are.
Right.
And by doing that, it goes straight down to a bit in your heart called the SA node that stops it beating so fast, which is ideal, especially if you're in a stressful situation. And if you can have a chance to sit in that situation and give yourself a little massage, it works. It's quite a drastic one, because you're playing with stuff that literally controls the stuff that keeps you alive. But if you do it in a way that you understand and you know your body, so don't just straight away do it because I'm in a car crash and just massage my throat. That would be less than optimal, but practice first before you do it. And then you and you know how you work, because everybody's completely unique and it'll work differently for different people.
It'd be interesting to try that and to, in fact, track the HRV at night, like perhaps do that a few rounds of that before going to sleep and see if those HRV numbers change at all.
It's an interesting experiment, and it's how your body works and how you respond to it.
Right. Wow, interesting stuff. Okay, so looking at the origins of... I know what I want to ask you. Going back to the trauma piece, I've always been fascinated by the different origins or types of trauma that we humans experience, and the fact, or the seeming fact, that you mentioned a trauma could be seemingly insignificant, like you're thrown in with a new babysitter, and you might experience that as some extreme abandonment. Meanwhile, I have a babysitter that comes over and hits me in the head with a frying pan, and that's my trauma. But it seems to me, and I think this comes out of my direct association with a lot of people recovering from drug and alcohol addictions and stuff, is that getting the backstories on so many people, there's universally some kind of trauma, but it seems as though many of us experience some more subtle forms of trauma and some more extreme forms of trauma in the same way, and that it's almost as if the net result it equals itself out. In other words, the degree of trauma that each of us experience in many cases seems to be subjective.
It's all subjective.
And that like maybe, for another example, say I'm the middle child and I'm the golden child and I was good at sports and I got good marks in school. And so there's these insane expectations put on me by my family. And then, maybe the oldest child gets totally ignored and gets no love or no attention and has no expectations. It's like, each of us are going to experience the same trauma and still have to kind of undo that later on.
Yeah.
And maybe the youngest kid, experienced some horrific violence or some sort of violation of some kind, right? And they're still going to have it. And that's what I find so perplexing about the trauma piece, is that we each experience it kind of at our own level.
Yeah.
And the degrees of it seem to vary, with the exception of, extreme cases of, abuse and violence and torture and things like that are on the higher ranges where someone could become, in fact, quite psychotic as a result of that, right?
And you have the disassociation piece that I spoke about earlier.
But aside from that, do you know what I'm saying? It's like I meet people that they're totally screwed up and nothing really happened to them. Their trauma was so subtle.
But that's your perspective. That's your perspective.
Right, but to them it wasn't.
Yeah. And I think that's something that's quite a struggle with how everything's portrayed in media and TV and fiction, because what's traumatic for me maybe a nil point for you, because I've done worse than that. And I was in a foxhole, or I was in a massive car crash, or I was abused. Your trauma of being a perception of being abandoned as a child is nothing to me, which is true, because for you your experience is different. But my experience is equally valid, just not quite as dramatic. And there is a study that's linking a genetic variable to people who get PTSD. So everyone experiences trauma universally. That's something that happens to life. That's part of being a human being, this experience on this planet. But not everyone will get PTSD. And so there's a link genetically to how susceptible we are to this trauma experience, which I think is quite interesting, because they've also linked that to fibromyalgia as well. So the link for trauma to fibromyalgia in genetic predisposition to that means that some people are literally coded in the womb to be susceptible to traumatic response. So we have, in my understanding, two types of PTSD. We have PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's being rebadged as stress response. So it's not disorder, it's just how we respond to things. And we have complex PTSD. And complex PTSD is many varied situations of trauma that we have during our lives that build in these really powerful negative emotions and negative coping mechanisms, be it flashbacks, be it insomnia, and all this sort of stuff that's really quite potent in complex PTSD. And then we have PTSD that comes from maybe I was in a bad car crash and had to be extracted and had to spend 6 months in ITU and whatever. But that's one incident. Complex PTSD is many incidents that compound into it. So lots of childhood problems evolve into complex PTSD. And then we have normal trauma that we all deal with from day to day, with the babysitter looking after us, or I didn't get the sweets I wanted for my birthday, or all this sort of stuff that just builds just gently into our unconscious, and then all of a sudden rears its head when you're 28 years old and realize you can't make a commitment in a relationship because of all the little traumas that you've had. Whereas actually Joe, who's been in his car wreck, has got his PTSD that's giving him flashbacks and nightmares. But then there's Sarah, who's had an entirely abusive childhood with all the things, the trappings that go with that's given her this experience. And now she can't even go outside the house because she's completely activated in her trauma response. That means that she's isolated, and it's getting worse because every time she opens the door, it happens again, it triggers again, and it compounds. So we have this really big spectrum of trauma, from relatively quote unquote mild, that still affects people, to stuff that is quite debilitating and needs a really intense psychological and pharmacological management to even get to a place where you can unpick it using other methods.
Interesting. And would you say that kind of chronic or acute sensations of anxiety and depression and some of these things are born out of those different types of trauma at different times in life? I think
my perception and my belief is that a lot of the anxiety, depression, trauma that we're dealing with in our societies at the moment are linked to the trauma response. Anxiety is worrying about stuff that's going to happen, so you're making up stories in the future. And if you're suffering with anxiety because actually I'm spending all day scrolling on Instagram and looking at all these other people that are living their best life, and actually this is making me anxious because I'm sitting in a call center answering phones all day. What's going on? This person, she's on a beach, she's striking a beautiful yoga pose, and I'm here getting yelled at about a late bill. What's going on? And that builds that anxiety response because you're worrying about what's going on outside you. And that's a behavior that you would have learned at a younger age, that actually what someone else is doing is more important than what I'm doing. And this is all the trauma response that we need to be aware of within ourselves. And knowing that anxiety is allowed, it's just a poor coping strategy for something that's happened to us. I think, was that the question?
Yeah, it is. And that's something that I've seen in your work from looking into it a bit, is that there's also seemingly a lot of self-forgiveness in that, of, building the awareness of this chain reaction cascade effect that our early life experiences have, and how they manifest in different addictions, obsessions, dysfunctional patterns, anxiety, depression, and the forgiveness of ourselves for having that experience. In other words,
and the gratitude for that experience.
Okay, that's the next step. We'll get to that. Let's work our way up, Rich. I think for me, when I'm experiencing some of those things that come as a result, I'm able more to piece it together now. I'm like, okay, if I kind of stop and pause and do a bit of self-reflection and inventory, I can see, okay, this situation wasn't really about this person or this situation. It's my shit from the past, right? Yeah. And I'm being triggered in this moment, and I find that very useful. I think for some of us that have been doing some work on ourselves for a while, myself absolutely included, there's a self-imposed and sometimes outwardly imposed belief or expectation that we should be, quote unquote, over that, and that we shouldn't be anxious, or we shouldn't get angry at someone, or, have a fit, or, be afraid, or get sort of down and depressed and not be able to get out of bed one day, and that we should be, at a place where we're over that. Yeah. So how does the, in your understanding, how does the self-compassion and the self-forgiveness and self-love play into that, while not getting complacent and apathetic and just going, oh, this is how I am, and I'm an angry person, or I'm an anxious person, or depressed person. Yeah. Loving yourself, but going, all right, cool, got it, I'm okay. Give yourself a little pat on the back and keep it pushing and continue to grow and evolve and heal.
I think the knowledge, as an absolute fact, is that we are doing the best we can with the tools we've got. And the tools we've got may not be the best tools. It's like trying to change a spark plug with a rusty old Leatherman. It's a tool we've got. We can still do the job, but it's going to cause grazed knuckles and stuff. But actually, the tools we've got, we're using them to the best of our abilities, and knowing that we are doing the best we can with what we've got is the absolute truth in any human's experience. Because if we weren't doing the best we can with what we've got, we wouldn't actually do it. Because why would we be doing it? Because again, back to our prime concern, keep us safe. And if we haven't got the tools to keep us safe, or we haven't got the right tool to do the job, we're going to use everything we've got to do the job in the best way it can be. So this is why we have these strategies that cause us problems, because it's trying to keep us safe. It's not quite the right tool, but it's doing the best it can. And we're doing the best we can to keep us safe. And yes, that does involve sometimes, I'm staying in bed all day and watching Netflix and eating Cheetos. That's a valid strategy.
That sounds like a great one.
Yeah, and it works because it's kept you safe that day. You wake up in the morning, there's Cheetos in bed. I'm covered in orange stuff. Actually, that wasn't the best way of doing it, but for that moment of time, it kept me safe. And we've got to not hold it against ourselves. And I struggle with the word should, because that implies someone else's opinion being put on you, because you're giving your power over. And as autonomous human beings that we are, if we keep our power in ourselves and say that I did the best I could yesterday, I need to wash the Cheetos off my face, I need to put the linen in the wash, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go to work, I'm going to do my thing, and then I'm going to try again today. I'm going to do it better today because I've learned from yesterday. And knowing that the learning is super important, that even if I do have a shite day, if I'm sitting looking into the bar and going, I really want to drink, I'm not going to do it, I'm going to go down the gym, or I'm going to go get on the surf, or whatever it is your mechanism is, then knowing that was a win. It's a micro victory. It's a victory that you can take from the situation and go, yeah, I'm not a big pile of shit sitting in the bed covered in Cheeto dust. I'm actually out here learning from that behavior, and I'm moving forward. It doesn't necessarily have to be a massive, huge, 100-yard touchdown. It can be literally that grinding out, that first and 10, just pushing it forward right down into the end zone and getting there, making sure you're doing it inch by inch by inch every day, and knowing your wins come in minute ways. And each win is a win. Breathing, you breathe 24,000 times a day. And if you're suicidal, each breath is a win, because I'm still alive at the end of the breath. I'm still alive. I made it through the day. Brilliant. I can do that now. Thank you. I've got evidence that I can live the day, even though I'm feeling like everyone hates me and that I'm so depressed and the world's going to destroy me. But you've got a win that you can do. You can live your life through that. And then the next day you can do better because you know you've won once, and you can step into the victory of that day and go, actually, today I'm going to call the helpline, or today I'm going to see my doctor and get my meds refilled, or I'm going to work out how to get my copay sorted out, or whatever it is I need to do to make sure that I'm having another victory. And again, victories are tiny. It's a game of millimeters, a game of inches that you're going to grind out to make sure that you get that win. And it's a case of just getting over that end zone any way you need to do it. Don't worry about yellow flags. Just get there, do it.
It sounds like the key in that is the self-awareness and taking the time.
And self-responsibility in that.
Right. To see, okay, right now, the best coping mechanism I can come up with is a pound of chocolate.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to own that. And that's my tool at the moment, right?
And own your tools. And if you know what it is, if you know, actually, yesterday I ate a pound of chocolate and a tub of ice cream and I ordered 6 loads of Dominoes. Today I'm going to do better. I'm not going to eat the Dominoes. Right. I'm just going to have the ice cream and chocolate. Right. And again, it's a victory. You've saved yourself $50.
Yeah.
Plus, you've not put all that stuff in your body. And you've actually made it out of the house today. So I need to get more ice cream. So I need to go to the shop. Right. So I think knowing that you can make your wins, your victories in any which way you choose to have them, and being aware enough of yourself to know, I did 6 hours today. I haven't cut myself. I did 6 hours today and I haven't thrown up. I've done 6 hours today and I haven't even looked at the liquor store across the street. I've done 6 hours today, and whatever it is your win is. And then you know that you've got evidence. You can prove to your conscious mind and your unconscious mind that I can do this. And therefore you can move forward. And forgiving yourself and knowing that, yesterday was shite. Yesterday was horrible. Yesterday was rubbish. Today's can be better. And it can be better by one tiny fraction of a betterness. I don't know how you measure goodness, but one tiny fraction of betterness. And then it's compounded and it gets better and stronger. And it's with whatever spiritual practice you do, especially with yoga around, there's yogas everywhere. And even turning up on the mat to a donation-based yoga session makes the difference in how your body responds. Actually, I've moved myself today. I've sweated a bit. Oh, my back doesn't hurt so much, so I don't have to take quite so much tramadol. I can take slightly less oxytocin. I can do this because I've taken a positive action for myself. And you get to make these tiny incremental gains in life, micro wins, to get to where you need to be, away from that pulling of pain. And it's not a quick journey. It's a journey of months, years, decades. As you said, 22 years. And I'm guessing you're still having your micro wins every day to make sure.
Absolutely. And you just described mine today. Today was waking up in a slightly funky space and making the effort, which took a lot of effort this morning because I was up quite late to make the yoga class, this morning out in the plaza. And I knew, I guess my higher self knew that was going to serve me as hard as it was to get myself out of the hotel and get my ass over there, and knowing it was going to be hot and uncomfortable at times. And I didn't have a mat. I'm on a concrete plaza with a hotel towel.
With the sun and 108 degrees.
Not ideal in terms of my ego's comfort zone, but there was a part of me, and that part that knows what's good for me, that did have that micro win. And then I was able to actually stack that and to have a really beautiful day, which has been... has culminated in this conversation.
And then here we are.
Yeah, and so it might not have happened had I woken up and just went, you know what, I should start smoking again.
Yeah.
I just don't feel well. Or whatever. It's been a long time since I had a cigarette, but I'm thinking of something I could kind of justify that would, maybe pacify me.
I'm in the Mediterranean. Everyone smokes. That's fine. It's allowed.
Noticed, maybe that's why it's on mine. I see very tan, healthy, fit-looking people smoking here. I'm like, what do they have different tobacco? This seems to be working for them. Well, I think that's probably a really positive note to end on, Rich.
Cool. Thank you so much.
I always like to sort of illustrate a struggle or dilemma, a way in which many people get stuck, and then not leave them hanging with so that's what's wrong with you and you're screwed. But I think that approach, of just that patient progress and the self-forgiveness and self-love along the way, and forgiving ourselves for any regressions that might take place, and also giving ourselves gratitude and credit for those micro wins. And,
yes, definitely.
I like the idea of compounding on those and capitalizing on the small wins. And over a period of time, you look back and go, wow, I've come a long way. One little micro decision at a time. So thank you for that.
Thank you. It's been an absolute honor.
Cool. Well, man, what a great conversation. So I got one more question for you. So I've learned a lot from you today, as I learned from so many of our guests, and I'm sure our audience has too. Who have been 3 teachers or teachings that have influenced you in your work that you might point our audience toward that they can go look up?
Peter Levine. He does somatic experiencing, which is a therapy in California that actually all over the place now, that helps to re-embody people who have experienced trauma. And I think that's a really powerful tool to use. And his books are great too. He teaches you all his stuff in his books. Uma Dinsmore-Tully, she created the Yoga Nidra path that I follow.
Oh, cool.
She's currently, I think, in Wisconsin doing stuff. She's one of those eclectic ladies that bounce around the world. She wrote a book called Yoni Shakti, which is really powerful in the feminine, and understanding the feminine body and how the energy and everything with energy and hormones works. And last but not least, my wife, Lisa Lister. She is my absolute inspiration and rock. She's, everything to me. And she constantly teaches me, challenges me, and stops me getting too egoic.
As partners sometimes can do. Yeah. Well, God bless her. She scored on the last name too, Lisa Lister. Yeah. That's a cool name.
She chose to keep my name, rockstar name, alliteration.
Yeah, I love it. All right, dude. Well, where can we find you? Website, social media, anything you want to share with people?
I'm at richardlister.com or Rich Lister UK on various social medias. And if you need help, please reach out to me because that's what I want to do. I want to help people.
Awesome, man. Will you help me? Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It's been an absolute honor.
Well, there we go. Banged out another episode of the Lifestylist Podcast. Again, if you're a newbie, if you just showed up here and you made it this far into the show, I'd love for you to share this with a friend. And if you're a longtime listener, I want to thank you. As I said in the intro, maybe even by the time I record this outro, we're at 3 million downloads. Well, maybe not, but I'm sure by morning we will be. So I just want to take a moment to thank you again. I always say this at the end of the show. I think I get sentimental when I do the outros because I'm like, here we go, another episode complete. But I got to tell you, and this is so real and authentic, you guys listening, and I meet so many of you now when I do events like the Health Optimization Summit, September 14th and 15th in London, that now I have a more interpersonal relationship with so many of the listeners. Of course, there are many more thousands that I will never meet. So this is my way of kind of expressing my heart, but I'm just so grateful in my life for all of the crap that I've been through and all the work that I've done to be in a position now to meet people like Rich and so many other brilliant, creative, kind, resourceful people who are doing great things in the world. And I get to sit down with them in most cases in person and have these conversations, which for me are much more than conversations. They're sort of like healing sessions or investigations or excavations into the things that really make life worth living. And these are conversations that I would be having with people, whether or not I had a podcast or not. This is the stuff that I talk about. I'm not much for small talk. I mean, I might talk about, hey, did you notice the chemtrails today? Yeah, weather's interesting. But I'm not, I'm not going to be talking about the Dodgers or the Lakers or any of that. No offense if you do. If you love small talk, great. But I like to go deep. I like to get a further understanding of the human experience, why we're here, how we can make it worthwhile to be here, how we can turn some of the pain and suffering that we all experience into valuable lessons and grow from them. This is what I'm all about. I'm realizing more and more as I get into this stuff after, I'm about 23 years into just being completely obsessed with my spiritual evolution, my physical health, all the things that I'm into. I'm into alleviating suffering and finding effective ways to live life that make life happier, more joyful, to experience more love. And when I find people that are also doing that, it brings me such great pleasure to be able to extract their wisdom, knowledge, and experience and share it with you. So that would not be possible if you weren't listening. You know what I mean? So thank you so much. Again, if you want to help support the show, easy way to do it, man, is just always go to lukestory.com/store. That's lukestory.com/store. In my store, all you're really going to find is links to all my favorite stuff. I don't sell anything. I don't ship anything. I'm sitting here in my house, in my podcast studio. I have a kitchen full of this stuff, but I'm not going to give you my stuff. But what you will find there is links to a very tightly curated and put together a collection of everything that I think is really great for your health and well-being. Not the least of which being some blue blocking glasses, which you can find there. You can also get them at blueblocks.com. Best yet, though, the coolest thing is that you get discounts on stuff in most cases. So a lot of people write in and be like, oh, I can't afford all this stuff. Well, I get it. And I always say the best biohacks are free. Hugs, sunshine, ice baths, this kind of stuff. But if you want to get into the tech side or the supplement side, I really, really do my best to get a discount on everything on my site. So Blue Blocks is 15% off with the code LifeStylist. You can get some Four Sigmatic medicinal mushrooms and herbs there, or foursigmatic.com/the Lifestylist. The code there is the Lifestylist. Save 15% off. And then Organifi. I just tried a new product they had tonight. Oh, damn it. This is so embarrassing. It's in my kitchen. I think it's called Glow something. Yeah, it's red. And it's all of these like collagen synthesis activators, like all these natural forms of vitamin C and things like that. Very cool product. And I'd kind of stuck it in the cupboard and busted it out earlier today. I was like, oh, damn, I looked at the ingredients. This is bomb. So I'll remember what that's called for sure. But I think it's called Glow. It has a red label. And you can find all of their stuff over at Organifi.com/Luke. The code there is Lifestylist, and it's 20% off. In these discounts, you guys, it's like, 15%, whatever, why bother? Some things are quite expensive, and these discounts kind of add up, So you might go get some blue blocking glasses, and I don't know what they are, $50, $70, $150, whatever it is. But you start throwing some things in your cart, because I know this myself. I'm always on the hunt for discount codes. And, all of a sudden you've got a couple $100 worth of stuff in there, and then you pop in a 20% code. You're like, shit, I just saved $20 or $40 or whatever it is. Sometimes I save a lot of money with the codes because I'm a complete vitamin junkie and place big orders that I probably shouldn't, and end up with a kitchen that has 3 times more supplements than it does food. But anyway, that's my own drama. I'll save it for my mama. Listen, join me next week for a show. What's next week's show? Let me see. Oh, damn. Next week's show is a solo show, also recorded in Mallorca, Spain. It's called Removing the Blocks to Unconditional Love. That's my workshop at Rama Fest a couple months back here. And I normally don't release those on a Tuesday. I normally make shows of me talking, like a bonus episode or something, but I got such positive feedback on this one in particular, and a couple of the previous ones I did of this workshop, that I thought, you know what, I'm just going to drop it as a regular episode and see what happens, because I won't say proud. It's a horrible emotion to thrust upon you as the listener, but I'm very grateful to have had that experience. And there were so many listeners in the room, and I don't know, we just had a vibe going. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to push my low self-worth issues to the side, and I'm going to go ahead and have the courage to put out a solo show on my coveted Tuesday slot. So I'm looking forward to getting your feedback on that. I remember the moment that we shared. It was about an hour, I think, this particular talk in Spain. And it was beautiful. I mean, it really was. It was a special moment in time for me and the people in the room. So I'm looking to expand that room to you, and I hope you enjoy it. If you want to catch next week's show and every show to follow, you can make that really easy for yourself by simply subscribing to the Lifestylist podcast. You can do it right there on your app. As soon as I'm done talking, in 3, 2, 1, we're out. This episode of the Lifestylist podcast was produced by podcastmasters.net.